So, first of all, it's such a privilege to be here with you today. Oftentimes I get the privilege to be at UVU, BYU, you know, all the people around us, and not too often make it down south. So, Rich, who you guys may or may not know, Rich Christensen, is one of the most brilliant people I know, and he kindly asked, hey, would you be willing to go down? And I thought, yeah, that would be cool. So I think one of the things that I was asked was to tell my story. So that's me, and I was that guy. This is in a little camp that we did in Brazil. So I was actually born and raised in Brazil. Never thought much of life, to be honest. Never had, you know, grand aspirations. I guess I did in some ways, but in most other ways I was your typical hyper kid that couldn't sit still. And yeah, so actually at age 11, I started attending military school, and that type of behavior kind of had to change. This is actually a really good friend. Yeah, we were like hanging each other upside down during just the camp that we were doing. And you know, the interesting thing about growing up in Brazil is that it kept my life in perspective. As I look back, it's very easy for me to think, did I have perspective? Oh yeah, you know, I dealt with all sorts of crime growing up. So I've been robbed a few times, and that's okay. Learned how to, you know, get over it within a few minutes after being, you know, held at gunpoint or whatever you want to call it. Cool, you know. And that taught me some I don't know, ease, if you will, in hard situations or hard circumstances. You can't really control your you can't control whether you're going to get anxious about stuff or not. You can control if you're going to do something about your anxiety or not. And that's something that I kind of learned. Then comes time to start college. And I get accepted into a law school in Brazil, which was pretty exciting. Law school is an undergrad in Brazil, so no, I was not done with school at age 17. But what happened was there was an opportunity for me to come to BYU. And our family is really not international. My parents don't speak English. And frankly, I still don't speak English. But I try. I try really hard. And the funny thing is when the opportunity came, my parents had literally indoctrinated me with, you know, oh, this is the university you're going to go to school at. Take me to our local university and tell me about all the wonders of that, you know, crappy place. And granted, you know, it was a good option. It's not like it's a bad option, but the opportunity to come to BYU came when I got a call saying basically, hey, you should go to BYU. And I thought, oh, I guess I should. That sounds like a cool adventure. And that's how I took it. And so I applied to BYU. Somehow I got accepted. I really don't know how. I had been in military school my whole life, which literally means that getting anything above a 70% was highly above average. And that was the objective was keep the whole class at about 65-70% at all times. It's just a different perspective, if you will. But when I get to BYU and I'm taking 3-hour tests and I see, you know, people in class just groaning about, this is horrible. I'm going, man, this is awesome. You know, we used to have 7-hour tests at military school. This feels great. We're done? We can take it on Saturday? That's wonderful, you know. And so, but it wasn't an easy adaptation. Believe it or not, at age 17, when I first came to BYU, I was probably pretty much a foot smaller than I am today. So I was the tiny, small kid. I probably looked kind of like that when not really, but you can see the build. Well, oops. But anyway, so you know, at BYU, I was just doing my stuff, and I get called into the advisory office, and they say, you're a business major, right? And I said, yeah, I love business. And they go, well, you're pretty much done with your business minor. And I go, oh, really? And the reason was how I picked classes. I had literally no time to talk to anyone, or frankly, I couldn't really understand what people were saying anyways. And so I actually picked all the wrong classes for my first and second semester until an advisor kind of noticed and called me on it. And so, but it was actually interesting because it taught me a lot. So I did in my first semester in second I had done Econ 110 and all the econ stuff, all the accounting stuff and all the marketing stuff. So I was taking a lot of 300 level classes by then, which was not a good idea. It reflected on my GPA, and I didn't know what a GPA was and why it's on a scale of 0 to 4 or 1 to 4. I still don't know, but like why, and but yeah, so I literally had no idea what I was really doing. So I go on an LDS mission back to Brazil. They ship me back there. They're like, we really don't want you here. And so I spent 2 years there. And then by the end, I'm thinking that I'm going to go back and finish law school in Brazil. Because the idea of BYU was just, I'm going to try it out for a year and have fun, and then I'll be gone. And then, really occurred to me that the opportunities that BYU had opened, not really tangible opportunities, but it just had opened my eyes so much to the world. It really meant something to me, and I wanted to go back there and finish that. And so I think that's a learning right there. Try to expand your horizons by getting out and doing something crazy. It was really insane to leave my family, and Brazil is very much a culture of bear families, not too many children, and the ones that you have, you really cherish and you keep them close, and leaving like that was pretty weird for our own culture. But while at BYU after my mission, I met a guy by the name of Warren Osborne who became a great mentor to me. And he basically, we met at a church capacity, and we noticed that we would finish pretty much all tasks in the stake before 6 a.m. no matter what it was. And that was really strange to him, and that was really strange to me. Hey, I found someone else that doesn't sleep. Maybe we'll get along. And so one day he comes to me and says, hey, I'm starting this company called SPAR at the time, and would you like to join? I did not know what they did, and I said, yeah, that sounds awesome. And so I quit my BYU job and went to work with Warren. And we started making these nice little things that you may or may not have seen called Bluetooth speakers. That was hot back then. There were still margins. Don't get in that business now. It's really bad in margins. But it was really, really a great little company that we got going. And granted, I was the junior most guy in the company, but I was the number 5 guy in the company, and that felt good. Number 5 guy out of 5 guys, right? It felt really good. And I learned a lot. And being there from the start gave me a very unique perspective into what the company was and how it was growing. So a year and a half later, we had grown to 25 to 30 people. And full-time people, and so the company was very serious. I pretty much I put school kind of on hold. By then I had decided I would be an econ major. The reason being, econ at BYU is the shortest major there, so I just wanted to be done, and so I got into that, and plus there's no application to get into that. It just means you need to endure it. And so I did, but I decreased my classes to a minimum to keep going with Braven because it was a really fun little business we had going. And the truth is, we were growing very, very fast. Some fun QVC stories. You guys know QVC. Shark Tank has made QVC famous again, apparently. And it's interesting. We actually sold $1 million in one day at QVC, one time. Then we made $1 million. Then we made like $4 million, and then we're all excited, and we lost a couple $1 million. Anyway, so and it was all a matter of timing, right? So we had a campaign launch in August. We had another campaign launch in December. Hey, Christmas, and that's when we made a lot of money. And then we had a campaign launch on Memorial Day, and apparently people don't buy speakers for, Memorial Day. It was really bad. We got pulled within the first 2 hours of the show. It was really, really bad. And that taught me a few lessons. which we can get into questions if you want to get into those. I didn't mean to detract that much, but Braven was fun. I mean, we were making some serious money at Braven until we decided to sell Braven, and I didn't know that companies could be bought or sold, frankly. Growing up in Brazil, my dad was a manufacturing owner. He owned a ladder manufacturing business, like Little Giant, but much smaller than the Little Giant operation. And you know, we had always seen him work hard and all, but we didn't know about liquidity with companies, and that's a lesson I learned right here at Braven the day that Warren came to me and said, "Hey, could you lead on that transaction?" And I said, "What does that even mean?" And he said, "Well, get this done. I mean, we're selling. Get it done." And so I got thrown into this work with, you know, investment bankers, lawyers, and accountants. And frankly, I had slept through only about 60% of my accounting classes at BYU, so I still remembered some stuff. And so it was actually really great to have that opportunity to work as a spearhead in the Braven transaction, and I'm really grateful for that opportunity. I think one learning right there is I didn't shy away from that opportunity. It was daunting. It was much bigger than I was. I mean, we're talking millions and millions and millions of dollars, and who am I? You know, I'm this weird Brazilian kid. I mean, that's me. You know. So we sell Braven. Warren comes to me and says, "Hey, there's all this money. I mean, we just made a lot of money." I didn't. He did. "I just made a lot of money. Would you come help me invest it?" I said, "There we go. Another thing that I haven't done. I'll do that. Yeah, that sounds really exciting. How do we do that?" And we started investing. I made some horrible mistakes investing. Which if you ever started investing, you would too. Until you make the mistakes with money that you control, you don't really grasp them, even though you read a lot about it. But we invested in some awesome companies. One of the companies was VidAngel, which some of you may be users. If you are, go like this. There we go, just so I can take account. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, you were users until a month ago. We're fighting that fight pretty hard. I was just with the CEO on Thursday of last week, and then on Friday of last week. And we're fighting that fight pretty hard to get it back up. I haven't watched a movie since they went down, because our DVD player broke, and we just haven't replaced it. But one day we were, swinging by, I don't know, we're headed home, and we're passing through a McDonald's, and my wife goes, "Redbox, let's rent a movie. We haven't seen a movie in forever." And I go, "Great idea." So we pull in, we get out, we are about to rent a movie after 20 minutes sorting through all the junk, and we realize that we don't have a DVD player. We get back in the car, go home, and don't watch a movie. But we tried, and yeah. So VidAngel was a great investment. It was a company that was skyrocketing, and among others that you may or may not be aware of. If you're interested in that, we can talk more about that too. Then Warren, apparently, 9-time entrepreneur, got bored, and he said, "Let's start another company." And I said, "Yay, I'm in. Count me in. What is it?" And we had noticed that the essential oil market was very hot. And forgive me for saying that. I was never hot in essential oils. But we started the company making essential oil diffusers. We thought, the current diffusers all look like they're made by hospital administrators. Nothing against hospital administrators, but they're not designers. So we hired a great industrial designer who, and we borrowed a lot from, Williams-Sonoma. We borrowed a lot of designs, things that we know are working in the market, and these are all made of porcelain. So we went to China, found a factory. There's a place in China called Chaozhou. If you ever get a chance, don't go there, but it's awesome. They make most of the porcelain in the world. I think I saw your head go like this. How many factories are in Chaozhou? I think it's like 1,000 porcelain factories. It's insane. It's like a huge amount of factories. So we had a lot of factories to pick from. The one big learning right there is don't do porcelain ever in your lives. Friendly advice. The rejection rate for porcelain is about 50%. And you just can't sustain a business doing that. Well, I guess some people can, we can't. Basically, the porcelain shrinks or stretches according to the temperature that day that it gets baked. I'm not talking the oven temperature, I'm talking like the temperature in the air, which you can't control. So it depends on the temperature, it depends on the moisture in the air, your relative humidity. So there's so many factors. It depends on the clay, on how dry or humid the clay is. So much that can go wrong. And I'll tell you, 50% of the time it does go wrong. So we would toss like 50% of our product. But it was a fun company. I mean, it's good looking stuff, I hope. Some people thought it was. We shipped our first shipment from China, and about 3 weeks later we get a call from the CEO of a major company in Idaho. There's only a few, but it was from one of them. And he calls and he says, we're buying your company. No, you're not. And he goes, I'm buying your company. I go, okay, let's talk. So we start talking and we sell the company to him. I had learned about liquidity, and that was a great learning. And it's great what you can do with money when liquid cash. Anyway, so that's how I ended up in Levere. That's the first time I made some nice little chunk of money, and it was great. And so Warren and I find ourselves going back to the drawing board. Hey, what are we doing next? It had been 5-6 years that we had started working together, and we go back to investing a little bit, and I just decide, hey, it's time for me to fly now. All mentors get fired eventually, which is a good thing. You see that in a positive light, in my opinion, or maybe there are some mentors that stay through life, but if they're really close and you're working with them, you do have to fire them eventually. Or vice versa, you prefer to fire them before they fire you. But it was a great opportunity for me to pivot and start and join a major venture capital fund out of Provo. It's the only venture capital fund in Provo, but doing some great things. We actually just closed the largest seed fund in Utah. If you don't know what that means, doesn't matter. It's still the largest. So we're pretty excited about that. We started deploying that, closed the first deal a few months ago, closing on a second deal, and lots more in the pipeline. And I should be doing that instead of talking to you, but I'm here, so it's exciting. Anyways, I was asked to tell you things that I knew earlier, and all of things were not supposed to show up at once, but they did, so we'll talk about them. First thing is learn to sell. I get invited sometimes to speak at a computer science class at BYU for entrepreneurs. Yes, they're trying to teach entrepreneurship for computer science students. It's working a little bit, as long as they're willing to learn how to sell. I don't care how quirky you are, but you got to learn how to sell. You're constantly selling. Even if you're not in entrepreneurship at all, learn to sell. It's going to do your career wonders. It's going to do your marriage wonders, frankly. It's just how it is. Yeah. Get a mentor would be the second thing. I stumbled upon mine, and I stumbled upon many others throughout my life, including Rich. But I would proactively find opportunities to get a mentor, and don't make it awkward. Don't go to someone and, oh, will you mentor me? It's weird. It's a lot better if these things come naturally and you develop a relationship of trust. And people are willing, most people are willing to do good. So, yeah, that's the second one. Then there's a third point. Counsel a lot with others. Then do whatever you feel like doing. That one is really important to me. We're trying to decide which school to put our kids into. And my wife has visited all the schools and I haven't. And I keep telling her, hold off. I'm still talking to people. And she's like, you've talked to 6 people already. And I go, yeah, I'm still talking to people. Hold off. And I think there is great wisdom in that. She actually added to that yesterday to say, counsel a lot with others, then do whatever you feel, then do whatever you would do anyways. And that's not what I believe in, so I had to change it. I really believe there's a lot of wisdom in a pool of fools. Even if someone has no perspective into what you're doing, sometimes you can learn just from asking them. When I'm about to do an investment in a new company, one thing that I always do is I have someone that has zero experience in whatever they're doing to play with the product, and I observe them playing with it. Be it a product or, it's always some sort of product, right? Be it a software or whatever. And observing people that don't know what they're doing, moving around in a complex environment can be very telling. And then get feedback from them, and you hear a lot of stupid stuff, and it's okay. So then the fourth one that I've learned is pay the price. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you got to be willing to pay the price. I have lots of horror stories, especially with Braven, because it was such a cutthroat industry as a whole. Apple got everyone ill-used to the fact that we're launching new product every 10 months. That's really bad, really rough on the industry. And because we were an accessory to an iPhone or an iPad or Androids, people expected us to be constantly launching and launching and launching. So we would actually have V2 of the product we're launching today ready before we launched V1. And that's just hard because you're literally obsoleting your product before it really gets out there. And that's really tough. So, which meant I had to pay the price in a big way. Sometimes, very material price. So we once shipped about $1 million worth of bad product, and guess what? We took it to the dump. Yeah, $1 million. It's like burning $1 million. Except that the government gave us the tax that we paid on it back. That was which was minimal, but it at least was something. And you know what? It's okay. It's okay, but it meant we had to take the price. We had to pay the price. And when I say pay the price, check with your significant other first before you pay the price. What that means is don't make a decision that you're going to be this great entrepreneur and you're going to work 18-hour days if she's not okay with it or if he's not okay with it. It doesn't end well. And that's what is most important in life, is keeping that right perspective. And it has to do with the last point, which is find joy in the journey. There's no such thing as a destination for entrepreneurs. If you think that when you have 15 million bucks in your bank account and you're smiling, you're done, you're not done. You're gonna get antsy, and you're gonna find something else to do, and you're gonna get itchy, and you might make a bad bet, and what that will mean is you're gonna have to start over. And that's okay. Those are good things. Those are good opportunities for us to learn and to grow, which is what this life is all about. That's why I admire the older people so much. We have a saying in our house that people above the age of 75 can say and do whatever they want. And we're very sincere about that. I don't know how that will turn once our parents get there. But so far we've been sincere about that because they've accumulated such knowledge and they've been through stuff, and so I have respect for that. But yeah, find joy in the journey. Don't look for the pot of gold in the end of the rainbow. There's not a pot of gold in the end of the rainbow. There's not a pot of gold in the end of an entrepreneurship successful venture. Is it fun to have some money? Oh yeah. I mean, money buys a lot of things, but it cannot replace the joy that you find in simply having fun during these crappy times in companies. And what I'm saying is, are you supposed to not be, get a little heartburn over the company or get sad at times? No, entrepreneurship is very much a wild roller coaster. That's why you got to check with your significant other first, because it's crazy, and she or he will be right next to you as you're going through that roller coaster. So, so those are the things that I prepared. Yeah, that's it. Here's my email. Shoot me an email anytime. Don't get anxious if I don't respond. I will eventually respond, but I think email took over our lives in a bad way, and I'm trying to get disaddicted. So I'm going through a cleansing process with email. So I may take a while. But yeah, here's my email. Shoot me an email anytime, especially if you want to touch base on a company. I may just say on my email, hey, shoot me an executive summary. It's always helpful. Shoot me whatever you have done, or put a one-pager together. And it's normally easier to hop on a 10-minute call than it is for me to type a 2-page email. So I may just include your phone number and I'll call you at a random time. It'll be an 801 number if you care. And if you don't pick up, I'll leave you a voicemail. Yeah, so that's what I had prepared for you today as far as some learnings go. And I think we're now going into some questions. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Do you guys have any questions? Yes?
I spoke with Rich a few weeks ago, and he mentioned that you've got a very different style than he tends to be more bootstrapped and start very minimally.
Uh-huh.
You mentioned that you like to get in and fund things right away and get it growing.
Yeah.
Would you maybe speak to that a little bit?
Sure. So first of all, it's a different style, and I just need to leave here my deepest appreciation for Rich and for his style. I mean, everything that he said, if you do exactly what he says, you do great. Let me just start with that. Now, there is a little bit of a different perspective in things. Basically, I believe he thinks we live in a world of scarce resources, and I guess that's kind of obvious, right? I believe more that we are in a period where we have abundance of capital. There is way too much capital spread around, and so there's a great opportunity to move faster at things. So things that used to take years now take at times weeks, sometimes days for you to do. Just think of a communication across the oceans with my family in Brazil. When I was first in the U.S., it was really hard and expensive to get a hold of them. Now, driving here, I had service most of the way through. That was kind of fun. So things are accelerating. So what I mean by that is there's two ways to build a business. One in a capital scarce world, one in a capital, you have abundance of capital world. The two ways are different in the sense that the speed that you move. So it's not be wise with cash, but there is cash available if you can get it. So the major difference being the speed in which you move towards market, and then the speed with which you actually drive adoption. How many of you have seen, Facebook ads for companies like Squatty Potty or Purple, or have you seen those? You probably have. You know why you're getting all of those? Someone's paying for you to see those. And if they pay enough money, you're going to buy one eventually. That's literally what that means. And so that's what happens to these types of companies is they aggressively pursue customers. Now, what ends up happening is you get investors, people like me or others, that are going to, in exchange for money and advice, are going to buy into your company. So, that's how a venture capital firm works. You put money into the company, and you help grow the company. And you expect them to move a little faster. That's what venture capital does. And so if you can get venture capital, that's a great way to do it. There are some downsides. I shouldn't say that. I intervene in the companies that I invest in a little. I'm by no means, your typical eager to intervene VC, but there are those types out there that are constantly like, do you think you're the right CEO for this company? Those kinds of questions, which I don't ask. If I back someone, I expect them to run their own company. And but we expect an accelerated pace in the company. And that means get to market faster and then explode in the market. Rich actually likes a great example that he did with a company that had a great technology. He had the supply chain all locked up, and he decided to take it on the method of let's build it, bootstrap it. Granted, someone else got to market fast, dominated it, and kind of pushed them out of the market. So it can happen. That kind of thing can happen. And that's when it makes sense to just go, exponential. Does that answer? Kind of? Good?
That's good. Thanks, Dave.
Good. Thanks. Any other questions? Yes?
What are some questions that you ask yourself before you invest in companies?
It's a good question. So going back to that, I am a risk-aware guy. I'm not risk-averse by no means. I did drive a lot faster than I should coming here. But I am risk-aware. And so I always ask, what's the downside? Does that mean I'm not going to take the swing? No. But does that mean I'll be cautious and a little more rich thinking, thinking along those lines that he taught me so well? Yes. So I always think, what if they were to live in a capital-constrained world? Does that prevent them from growing? Does that prevent us from delivering amazing returns? That's one question. The second question is there market adoption? Do their customers love them? One of the reasons why we decided to invest in VidAngel early on was, two things. Those guys can drive adoption like no one else. It's crazy. They can really drive that. And second, I can't find someone that uses or has used VidAngel that doesn't love it. Those two things are great parameters. So, yes, sir.
Do you create kind of a profile as to what you're looking at, or are you pretty much open in the way you examine something?
Very open. That's me. I don't even dare speak for Peak in that regard, but I try to be. Look at me. I'll go back to that slide. Here we go. That's what I think. I try to see potential in people, and what people could become if they were enabled by some capital. So I try to take a look at everything with open eyes, and sometimes you'll be amazed at the kind of things that you will decide to or that you will say, oh, this was a good investment, when at first it was like, oh, that guy's quirky. I don't get along with that guy or whatever, right?
Do you have any sort of red flag, green flag process that you go through when you're looking?
Great question. Red flags are there's no market adoption. The product's still not, even starting to get baked. Founders that are involved in that, but they're not all in. So if a founder is just, and those things are kind of mutually exclusive. So if they're not all in, but they have traction, great. This is awesome. Maybe he needs some cash to jump in full time. But if he's not all in and it's still kind of that's a big red flag of is he actually or she going to execute on what they're saying they will. That's a red flag. Green flags in general are the traction, market adoption, the metrics of the business. If they have any business metrics that say we can acquire customers for a lot less than what our customers end up paying us, that's normally a good sign. If you can buy something for 5, sell it for 15, do it, right? It's a good thing. So those are some. I think a question over there first. Does that answer it?
Yeah. So I actually work for a different venture capitalist group called Kickstart.
Yep.
And as I've been listening to them, they go through almost hundreds of new business ideas a year and take maybe 2. Is that a similar process with you guys? Do you reject a lot of them and kind of thing, or do you?
We're in the business of kindly saying no. The reason being, most ventures fail. And oftentimes, there's one that I passed in, and now they're off to the races. And I get so happy about that. And I get a little jealous, I wish we had invested. But at the same time, no venture capitalist owns the truth at all. A lot of times, receiving no's from venture capital groups can actually teach you a very important skill in entrepreneurship, which is resilience. Be it resilience in raising capital, or be it resilience in taking a bootstrap model for a little while. That's also okay. Yeah. So, and we have a little bit of a different profile than Kickstart in the kinds of companies that we back, and you can just compare portfolios to take a look there. But They do a great job. They're fantastic people. Yeah. Yes.
I was just going back to the original question, with Rich's style versus your style. I've always understood that you need both. Rich's approach of bootstrapping, zigzagging, working way up,
Yep.
talking to somebody within a VC firm. My basic knowledge from Shark Tank, and
Yeah.
and talking to people like you. You're not ready for a company until they're either making money or have some incredible traction, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that? So can you go from 0 to you, or do you need to do what Rich is talking about with the zigzagging, getting to making money, showing that you've got a validated model, and then that's when you talk to?
That's a fantastic question. So let me just summarize the question back to you. The question is, do we need to get to a certain place before venture capitalists will even look at you? Normally, yes. The easiest way, if you do need some cash, is talk to that rich uncle of yours, that dentist. He won't help you with the business, but he may be willing to give you, 30 grand for you to put a product together. Be careful if it's a family relationship, because it could go sour. You can lose that money. Make that disclaimer 150 times. Record it. Make him sign it. And just to be very clear, it is exactly that. You need to. Frankly, the companies that I love the most are the companies that are scrappy. I have a company right now paying, I think it's like $4 a square foot a year for rent.
Is it a backyard?
It's a dump. I love it. I love them for it. They're so efficient with cash. I have another company that actually got some really nice space in Lehigh. Guess what? They got half a floor. They sublet half of that for about twice the price, which means they're paying no rent. I love that scrappiness. That ability to actually do more with less is just absolutely necessary. So when I say, a capital, there's a lot of capital out there. Don't make the mistake of spending. It's a bad idea. Just bad idea. I think the biggest turnoff that I've ever had in a company was a pitch that was very attractive. A company with very significant traction, and their forecast in financials had them going until like 2020 without turning a profit. In my world, that's not okay. Like, not okay. Not okay, because you curtail yourself of options once you live in that world. And so I'd rather not invest, and we ended up passing in that company, and it turned out to be a good decision while the company's still there and kicking in. And now they're taking a lot more cash efficient approach as they see their bank account go down from the few $1 million round that they did. So does that answer it, Eddie? Cool. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
What do you look for in the entrepreneurs that you invest in?
That's a really good question. What do I look for in entrepreneurs that I invest in? I think I look for uniqueness. Why you? Why are you coming out with this company product or whatever? I look for grit because the road is a tough one. I look for support systems. How's this person supported in his personal life? How's your wife feeling about you doing this, or husband? And so those are the things that I look for. There's a lot of people out there that look for credentials. I frankly don't care for credentials. I'm probably the worst person in credentials in the whole world, and I guess that's been okay so far. But yeah, so look for determination, willingness to learn, willingness to grow. A lot of times, an entrepreneur starts with an idea, and they're really not a CEO. They need to grow into a CEO, and it's really, I think, the most amazing part of my job as a venture capitalist is to see people growing into a CEO role. And when they hire their 100th employee, by then they're normally a great CEO, and you're looking, you go, man, I'm so proud of you. Remember that day that we were It was you and your roommate working on this company? Yeah. I mean, you've come long ways. Those are the best talks that we can possibly have. So, yes?
You seem pretty confident in that statement that entrepreneurs start with an idea and grow into a CEO.
Yep.
Would you also be confident saying that entrepreneurs can start without an idea? You've got to grow into your idea and then grow into a CEO?
Definitely. Definitely. And to be very fair, not all entrepreneurs can grow into CEOs. Right? There's people that, for whatever reason, they choose not to, or they just can't. That's also okay. But yeah, ideas are an interesting thing. I once read a blog where the guy talked about how ideas are worth, $1, $10, or $100. There's no idea that is worth any more than that, any more than those three options. And then the execution on top of the idea is a multiplier of, 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 1,000,000, 10 million, 1 billion. So if you start with a $1 idea and you execute it at 1 billion, you're going to have $1 billion company, right? If you start with a $100 idea and you execute it at 1 billion, you're going to have a $100 billion company. So ideas are free, right? Which is why VCs hate non-competes. Among other things, like, great, you have an idea, just go execute on it, go do it. So, I'd rather see great execution and a crappy idea than great idea with poor execution. Like, there is no way I invest in poor execution with a great idea. That goes, with a friend that actually thought about vitamin water before vitamin water existed. He didn't do anything with it. He sat on it. And vitamin water sold for like a couple $2 billion, I think. Yeah, can he go to that guy and say, "Oh, pay me"? That was my idea. That won't work. So, yeah, exactly. Execution's key. Yeah, exactly. Does that answer it?
Yeah, actually a lot.
Cool. Yes. Hang on. Let's let that guy ask first, because you've asked.
How was the transition from entrepreneurship to VC, since VCs matured a lot? Like in the last 20 years, and valuations are much higher than they were once upon a time.
Yeah.
You kind of know what you're doing.
Yep.
You had handed to you today. So how did you make that transition?
Great question. Not all entrepreneurs can turn into VCs. I tell that to entrepreneurs all the time as they're about to get, $20 million for the first time in their lives. And I go, hey, just so you know, don't go lose your money. This is tough business. It's not easy. My transition was a unique one because I had a really good mentor in Warren. I mean, he had already done, 80 investments by the time we got together. So he actually helped me navigate and taught me all the pitfalls. Learning with his money was a lot better than learning with, my money. So that way it was really, really helpful. So that's how I kind of did it. Yeah. Yes, back to you.
I'm curious how you keep a good balance with you and your spouse and your family. Maybe on the entrepreneurship side and now on the VC.
For some reason that question always comes up. People think we're balanced, we're not. So for example, I have to take a trip to Orlando for work tonight at 11. And from Salt Lake. And so instead of me traveling tomorrow just for my meeting and coming back, we're actually taking the whole family. And so we're doing a day of Disney World. Well, I'm doing meetings all day. Then I have a dinner. And during all of that, she keeps the rental car and does whatever she wants. Except for shopping. We have strict rules on that. And
If it's in the suitcase, you could have it?
no, definitely not. And by the way, that's a good. I'll expound on that in a few. But then on Thursday we're going to Disney World together, and I try not to be on my cell phone all the time. So I'll have everything taken care of on Wednesday, and I'll have an autoresponder on Thursday saying, I'm at Disney World. Sorry, I'll get back to you tomorrow. There is no such thing as perfect balance. Perfect balance is the wrong verbiage. Have you noticed balance? What is balance? Balance is this constant, like even if I do this, I'm constantly moving one side or another. So the levers of balance are actually very interesting. So you're constantly going, okay, now I'm too much at work, now I'm too much with family, now I'm too much at work, now I'm too much at family. Now paying the price is different, because paying the price literally means you're going to live an out of balance life for a little while. And as long as your significant other is good with it, go for it. But get their permission first. Because it can be, at Braven for example, CES, Consumer Electronics Show, was happening January 12th through the 15th, I want to say, in Las Vegas. And our daughter's due date was January 14th. Our first daughter's due date. And I could not go to CES. So what did I do? I went to CES. And I had pretty much full reign. In order to go to CES, I had full reign to either hop in a car or in a plane and be back to Utah at a moment's notice. Thank goodness our daughter didn't come, because I don't think I would have made it on time. But there's no such thing as balance. That was me paying the price of being an entrepreneur. Check with them first. It's not worth your marriage. If they really want you to go get a job at PwC instead, it's worth considering that. That's not a miserable life. You'll be happy. But talk. Get your priorities aligned. Does that help at all? I know I just talked for like 5 minutes without saying that, without giving you a good recipe. It's because I really believe there's no good recipe in balance, because there is no balance. What?
A similar response has been fairly common.
Really? Good. If you find a perfect response, please let me know. Like my wife would love to hear it. So, if there is a good recipe.
From you.
Yeah, exactly. We done? Done. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.